Okay, so today we're diving into something I think is going to be super useful for everyone listening.
Hmm.
We're doing a deep dive into Take Action, a step-by-step guide,
Yeah.
which is all about, like how to stop dreaming and actually make stuff happen.
Hmm.
Um, and I think this guide is so cool because it's like, it doesn't get all like, fluffy and vague.
Right.
It's like super practical with like a clear plan, which I know for me personally is something I really need.
Yeah, it's very grounded.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very action oriented.
Yes, and I've definitely been there where I have all these big ideas and I want to do all these things,
Right.
but I get so overwhelmed that I end up doing nothing.
Yeah.
So I love how this guide is like all about breaking things down to smaller steps.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to start for sure.
Yeah.
Like even before you get into breaking things down,
Hmm.
the guide really emphasizes this idea of setting a clear goal, which sounds like a duh, but you'd be surprised how many people are trying to get somewhere without actually knowing where they're going,
Totally.
you know?
Yeah, like what are you working on right now?
Like for me,
Yeah.
well,
Is it like, building that side hustle or like finally getting good at that skill you've always wanted to learn?
yeah, or like what's that big thing that you want to like put out into the world?
Right.
I think, it helps to really put it into words, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
just saying it out loud can make a huge difference because
Okay.
it's like when you have that clarity,
Mm-hmm.
it's like you're shining a spotlight on the path ahead. And the guide talks about how this is like essential for staying focused and not getting lost or overwhelmed.
Oh, absolutely. And that makes total sense.
Yeah.
But like, even when you know exactly what you want,
Yeah.
sometimes it's just like so big and scary that you don't even know where to start.
Right.
And I feel like that's where this whole like break it down thing comes in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the guide gives this example of someone who wants to become like a social media influencer,
Mm,
which can sound pretty intimidating.
yeah.
But if you break it down into like, okay, I'm going to make 3 really awesome reels every week,
Yeah.
suddenly it feels a lot more doable.
Right. Like that's something you can actually wrap your head around.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's something I've struggled with too.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll have these grand plans and I'll get started, but then I lose momentum because I'm not like actually tracking my progress.
Yeah.
And this guide is really big on that whole tracking thing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right.
It's not just about staying organized. There's
Or-
actually like a psychological thing happening there.
Interesting.
Like they talk about this thing called the progress principle,
Okay.
which basically means that when you see yourself making progress, even if it's just like a tiny win,
Yeah.
it gives you this boost of motivation to keep going.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So are you like a spreadsheet person when it comes to tracking, or are you more visual, like using Notion, which the guide also mentions?
I mean, Notion is great because it's so flexible.
Yeah.
Like you can really customize it to fit how you think.
Yeah.
But honestly, the best tool is the one you're actually going to use consistently,
That's so true.
you know? And that actually brings us to the next big principle in the guide, which is consistency.
Yeah. Like actually doing the thing every day,
Exactly.
even if it's just for like 30 minutes.
Yep. Even if it's just a little bit each day.
Right. Because it all adds up.
It really does.
But how do you know when you're like actually taking a break because you need one
Right.
versus just like procrastinating?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Like sometimes it's hard to tell the difference.
I think it comes down to being honest with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like a real break should leave you feeling refreshed and energized.
Right.
But when you're procrastinating, you usually end up feeling even more drained and anxious.
Yeah, totally. And the guide emphasizes that it's not about like grinding all day every day.
Right.
It's more about showing up consistently.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's like working out a muscle.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it all at once.
Right.
But those little bits of effort over time really make a difference.
So true.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about setting clear goals, breaking them down,
Yeah.
tracking our progress, and being consistent.
Hmm.
But sometimes, even with all that, we still need a little extra motivation.
Yeah.
And that's where celebrating every win comes in.
Oh, yeah. I love that part.
Me too. And it's not just about feeling good, you know?
Right.
There's actually a real psychological benefit to acknowledging our achievements.
Totally. It's like you're training your brain to associate taking action with positive feelings.
Exactly. And that makes you want to keep doing it.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you have like a specific example of how you've done that in your own life?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Okay.
Like when I was writing my first book,
Yeah.
every time I finished a chapter, even if it was just like a rough draft,
Uh-huh.
I would do something to celebrate, like have a special cup of tea or something.
I love that.
Yeah, and those little rituals really helped me keep the momentum going.
Oh, that's awesome.
Ah,
I think that's such a good idea.
yeah.
Okay, so the guide has all these amazing tips, but I think the last one is where it gets really interesting.
Okay, tell me.
It's this whole idea of progress over perfection.
Yeah,
Like you were talking earlier about feeling overwhelmed.
right.
I think a lot of times that comes from trying to make everything perfect.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like we get so stuck in the details that we never actually finish anything.
Totally. And the guide is all about shifting that mindset.
Hmm.
It's not about lowering your standards. It's
Yeah.
about understanding that done is better than perfect.
Yes. And that you can always keep improving as you go.
Exactly.
It's like you don't have to wait until something is perfect to share it with the world.
Exactly.
Yeah. Some of the things that I'm most proud of are things that I just put out there
Mm-hmm.
and then I was able to learn and make them better over time.
Yeah, I think that's a great point.
Okay, so just to recap what we've talked about,
Yeah.
we've covered setting clear goals, breaking them down into smaller steps,
Mm.
tracking our progress, being consistent celebrating wins,
Yeah.
and embracing this idea of progress over perfection.
I think that's a great summary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up here,
Mm-hmm.
I want you to think about this.
Okay.
What's one small step that you can take right now, like today,
Mm-hmm.
to move towards that goal that you have in mind?
Right.
Even if it's just for 15 minutes.
Yeah, just get started.
Yeah. What can you do to embrace that progress over perfection mindset?
I love that.
Yeah.
Remember, every journey starts with a single step.
So true.
Yeah.
All right. That's it for our deep dive today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, this was fun.
Yeah, this was great.
All right.
See ya.
See ya.